The thing is, like, when you have a goal, so when there's something that you really want to do, you make the time and energy to do it. I'm never one of those people like, yeah, you can always make an excuse, but if something really matters to you, you will come home from work, even if you're tired, and you'll do a little bit that you need to do to get it done.
That's Courtney Evors, and this is the Powerful Ladies Podcast. Hey guys, I'm your host, Cara Duffy, and this is the Powerful Ladies Podcast, where I invite my favorite humans, the awesome, the up to something, and the extraordinary to come and share their story. I hope that you'll be left entertained, inspired, and moved to take action towards living your most powerful life. Courtney is the Senior Product Manager at Adidas working in footwear, a competitive powerlifter, a nutrition holistic life coach, and has just launched a granola business. She's doing all of this as an American living in Germany, just outside of Nuremberg, with her boyfriend and her really cute dog. Hear how she does it all while traveling the world for work and competitions. On this episode, she shares her tips for how there are no limits to what you can do or take on, and what it means to be and speak up for female athletes. All that and so much more coming up, but first, do you know the number one thing that you can do to keep this podcast going and to help us get more kudos out in the world and to have more people know about us? Go right now to your favorite place to listen to podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, TuneIn. I mean, holy smokes, there's a million right now, but I need you to subscribe and I need you to rate us and I need you to leave a comment about how much you love it. Even if you just want to talk about how much you love me or hashtag Engineer Jordan, that works too. But it'll mean so much to us to share how you feel about it and to love us by subscribing, liking, and rating. Thanks, guys. Hi, thank you for being on the Powerful Ladies Podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Let's start by introducing yourself and telling people all the things that you're up to.
My name is Courtney Evors. By day, I work as a senior project manager for Adidas, helping make shoes better. I used to be a designer for Adidas, depending on your target customer,
yes,
or listener. And then on my side career gigs, I am a competitive powerlifter. So I just recently competed for the German national team. Don't ask me how, in the 57 kilo weight class. Somehow I'm German now. I live in Germany. I am a nutrition holistic life coach, and I am starting up my own granola business. And then I also have a puppy. I'm a dog mom, and I live with my boyfriend outside Nuremberg.
And that's how we met, because we were both in Nuremberg at the same time. Yes.
Yes.
Team America in Nuremberg. There was a few of us there, but yeah. So what I think is so interesting about you is that you took the chance, like I did and a lot of other of us did, of being one of those crazy people that moves abroad for work, not knowing what the hell you're walking into, not speaking the language. And you've been there for how many years now?
8.5.
Which I think 8.5 means that you're almost German at this point. But yeah, so like I'm really impressed with how you've carved out a life of your own making in a foreign country while still having a full-time day job and still going back and forth between Germany and the US and the rest of the world. So how did you end up let's just start with how did you get to Germany?
Well, the long story is I've always wanted to live abroad. That was always a goal of mine since college. I studied at London College of Fashion as a semester abroad through Syracuse's design program. So that was always a goal of mine. And when I was living in New York, I got a job working for Adidas in Portland, Oregon, moved to Portland, was working there for 2.5 years. Had no desire to move to Germany because I was like, Nuremberg sucks. This is like a little town it's not exciting. It's not like Munich or Berlin. But there was an opportunity. So they were doing a reorg, as they always do at Adidas, I don't know if it's good to say or not, but they do. And the opportunity came to move to Germany. So I was like, you know what? Instead of getting moved into a position that I know I'm not going to be happy with, I'm going to go for it and take the job in Germany. So I kind of just said, yeah, move me. This is what I want. Basically asked for it. Like, it was like, I want to move to Germany. I know there's a position there.
Yep.
Transfer me over. And after interviewing, they did. They relocated me to Germany, and, you know, I came with a plan to stay for maybe 3 years, 4 years, and 8.5 years later, I'm still here.
So you moved to Germany because you didn't want to have to go into a role that you didn't want. And if you moved to Germany, you got to be a designer still.
Yes. So they basically, the irony is, they basically were setting up an innovation team, but the way it was set up, I use the term innovation team with quotations because it wasn't really set up. I couldn't see it set up for success. Like the guys that ended up staying and being in that role or within that team were just working on PowerPoints all the time. And I was like, I don't want that to be my future. So I went for the role that was still within design, still doing what I was doing. I was designing, running apparel at the time. And the position was still running apparel, but it was just back in the motherland.
Yeah. And then one day you just show up, right? Time comes and it's move day and suddenly you're in Nuremberg.
Yeah.
And you can't read anything. You don't understand anything. And they're like, yeah, just go to work. It's like a regular day.
Yeah. I didn't have I had a car for like the first month, but then I had to try to figure out, okay, how do I get to work? How does this place work? It's like a massive campus. But it actually wasn't as hard of a transition as I thought it might be. Yeah. And I'll tell you why. So like, luckily, you know, working for an international brand, it wasn't like the first time I'd ever been to Germany. So I'd been there several times for work trips. So I kind of already knew people. And then also because it's such an international community, everybody is coming from someplace else and they all kind of are in it's like going to college again. Yeah. It literally was like being back in college. Like you're going out all the time. Like I was going out like Wednesday nights, Thursday nights, Friday nights. Yeah. I was partying on the weekends, like not really sleeping a whole lot, but I was making new friends and experiencing new things and trying to get adjusted to this totally new culture of, you know, the land of meat and potatoes and beer.
And when you're trying to live a healthy lifestyle, it can be challenging at first. Like I remember being really excited when they opened one of the first vegetarian restaurants in Nuremberg. And then because it was, you know, in the US, especially in California and on the West Coast, it's so easy to get like a to-go salad. And when there was no place to get a to-go salad, you're like, wait, what? What are my eating options?
Yeah, I was slowly transitioning into becoming a vegetarian when I moved over to Germany. So I was doing like the whole meatless Mondays and everything. And I remember just trying to find vegetarian food or vegan food was really difficult. Yeah. You're looking for like the bio organic food shops and trying to discover like, okay, where do I buy food? Like what is the German equivalent to this thing that I get all the time in America? And it's like trying to adapt to like different foods, different ways to shop, different everything.
I remember realizing. And then
trying to like, okay.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was going to say, and then like trying to read the ingredients on things, you're like, okay. Like you spend like half an hour just like reading a label with Google Translate. You're just like, oh, okay. I don't even know I don't even remember if I had Google Translate when I first moved to Germany.
I remember carrying a little mini dictionary with me. Everywhere. Yeah, but it was cool though, because the first words I started to learn were food words.
But yeah, and the best thing about like eating a whole natural food diet is you can identify foods because cauliflower still looks like cauliflower. Yes. And like zucchini still looks like zucchini. Eggs are eggs. Like, so you're just like, okay, I'll buy this meat that looks like chicken. Like you know what everything is because it's, you know, still the same.
And there's a lot less processed things in the grocery store versus American stores. Like I remember having to even make my own hummus because they didn't have pre-made hummus. And I was like,
no, there's lots of hummus now.
Oh, good.
It's changed. It's changed a lot. Like I used to make a lot of things. Like I just recently posted on Instagram. I was like, if you live in Germany and you want vanilla extract, here's what you do to make it. And then somebody was like, they sell it at Edeka now. I was like, oh, well, just in case.
So did you start when you moved to Germany getting into the powerlifting? Like what was your fitness level like and your inclusion in athletics prior to moving to Germany?
So I played sports since I was a kid. So we had required sports in my school.
Mm-hmm.
I did everything from field hockey to swimming, diving, crew, lacrosse, softball, gymnastics, you name it, I did it. And then when I lived in New York, I got into capoeira and like kind of fitness, bodybuilding type of things. I was like really big into reading Oxygen magazine, and I worked with like a personal trainer. But I was like a big capoeira person. And then when I moved to Portland, that's when I got into CrossFit. Mm-hmm. It was back in 2008. And my boss had gone to this ranch in Aroma and met this guy who did this thing called CrossFit. One of the design directors, he was friends with Dave Castro, who's like the CrossFit director, our games director. And they're like, we did this thing called CrossFit, and you should go check out this CrossFit Games. It's amazing. And like, it'd be really good research. Because at the time, when I first moved to Adidas, I was doing women's training apparel. Mm-hmm. And then we did like a team fitness class or something, because we were the training team, and the training team always has to work out together. And my boss, because that's what you do at Adidas. And then my boss was like, you're really fit. You should compete in this CrossFit Games. I was like, what? Sign up as a competitor. I was like, is he serious? Like, he can't be serious. So I asked my friend, I was like, what should I do? She's like, I don't know, ask him. I'm like, okay, so Lewis, I'm signing up. Spectator or competitor? He's like, competitor. I'm like, okay. So I registered. I'm like, all right. So I registered as a competitor for this thing called the CrossFit Games in 2008. It was like the second annual CrossFit Games. And I was on the internet and the website CrossFit.com looking for like what gyms in my area, found a CrossFit box, went in, and was like, hi, I'm Courtney and I'm going to the games. And they just looked at me. I'm like, what is CrossFit? They're like, all right, well, let's see what you can do. And that's when everything just kind of started. I got really into lifting the things. Did that for 2 years, moved to Germany, and then there was no CrossFit. Nobody knew what it was. So I started doing my own version of CrossFit. Mm-hmm. Like I would like with my friends. I remember I'd take my friends Nina and Carly and some other people I think you probably know. Yeah. And I was like, let's go on the track and do some workouts. And I made burpees and sprints and jumps and squats and all sorts of stuff. And before I knew it, I had like 5 designers training with me like at lunchtime. And then they told their friends in marketing or development, and they were joining. And then I had like an email list, and then I had 20 people, and then I had 60 people that were like joining me every like 3 days a week at lunchtime on the track. And I became CrossFit Courtney at the Adidas campus. Like I literally would be in meetings and people were like, oh, you're Courtney. I'm like, yeah, the American Courtney. Are you CrossFit Courtney? Yes. Yes, that is me. So I had this huge identity around CrossFit for the last probably 10 years. Mm-hmm. I had a friend, she got me in triathlon. So for a little bit after moving to Germany, I did triathlons. I was cycling, I was running, swimming. Swimming was the only part of the triathlon I was good at, because I would get out of the water and I'd be all ahead of everybody. I'm like, yeah. And then everybody would just start passing me on the bike. So I was like, yeah. And then I'd be in the run and I'm like, at least I'm a good swimmer. Yeah. Recently, I got into powerlifting over the last 2 years, or the last year, I'd probably say. Because after so many years of CrossFit, I had a shoulder injury that just was like just nagging. It was recurring every 3 months. So I would just need to take a break. Yeah. And so finally I was like, you know what, I'm going to stop doing all the things that are messing up my shoulder and not do them anymore. So I had to stop CrossFit, and I was like, you know what, this is also not going to help me because it's always like snatches or burpees or kipping pull-ups. And as much as I, love all the things that CrossFit brought to my life, I also realized that, the injuries and things were not helping me in that situation. And last Easter, my boyfriend and I were in Austria, and I was like, I really want to compete in something. I really want to have something I can work towards, but I want to be good at it. And he's like, well, you'd be really good at powerlifting. I'm like, yeah. He's like, well, you're slow. So, because I've done Olympic weightlifting. I was like, thanks. He's like, you got the good levers for it. I'm small. So I've got little arms, or not little. Apparently I've got monkey arms. He told me today. He's like, you've got really long arms, and that's why your bench is weak. But I've got little legs.
So he's a positive enforcement. Yes.
Yeah. I get a text today. I figured out why your bench is weak. You've got monkey arms. Thanks, sweetie.
Is that sexy or is this? Yeah.
Am I turning you on?
But I think it's important to speak to your size, because how tall are you?
5'2".
5'2", right. So you're 5'2". So you're in the petite class of women, and you are a elite athlete. And so,
sure.
Well, but really, like, you can't be not an elite athlete and teaching 60 people how to do CrossFit and competing and recently trying out for the German national team. So, but I think it's important for people to know that size has nothing to do with your performance abilities. And it's really about finding the sport that you love and that you get excited about, because that's what's going to keep you going. There was National Women in Sports Day, and I posted this picture I found of it's one class of female Olympic athletes from the US, and they're all in bathing suits. And you see the diversity of sizes and shapes.
Yep.
It is wild, from women who are like 6 foot something to women who are 5'11" to like, it's crazy the difference and all of these women are Olympic athletes.
Well, the crazy thing is with powerlifting, it's funny because this is the one place where actually most of the women, at least in my weight class, they're like literally all the same height and similar build as me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why didn't I get into this sooner? Because like I'm made for this. I tried Olympic weightlifting, which is the clean and jerk and the snatch. And I was doing that through CrossFit. Again, not so great for the shoulder, but you need to be really explosive and really fast. And in powerlifting, you just need to move the weight, like either down and up, or push it down, or you pull it up. But you don't need to be fast. You just need to be able to move the weight. So like, that's what I mean. Like when my boyfriend's like, you're slow, he's like, you're like a tractor. Because I'll go down on a squat, and then when I go to stand up, it's like tick, 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 tick. Like eventually it comes up. Yeah. But I'm not explosive or fast. But yeah, but my size and my stature does really help, because for me, being 5'2" to deadlift like 130 kilos, I have a lot less distance to go than somebody who's say 5'10". Yep. And trying to lift the same weight, they have just longer to go. Yep. And that's where the arms come in handy, because I got longer arms. So, I probably make myself sound crazy.
Not at all, not at all. And we'll have pictures of you so people will know what you actually look like. But so you're in Austria on holiday. He says you should be a powerlifter. Did you come back that next Monday and you're like, powerlifting, Google, and like found one in Nuremberg, or what happened next?
So he Googled and we were looking at the totals. Yep. From the girls in Germany. And it's like, okay, what are their lifts? What are they doing? And could I actually compete? And he's like, based off of what you can lift today versus like what the girls have from last year's competition, you could do pretty well. I was like, well, shit, let's do it. I'm like,
I have to say,
powerlifting.
I love that he took such a German approach to the decision making of like pulling out a spreadsheet and comparing numbers and being like, this is a very logical approach. It's approved.
Yeah. He's very German. So
Yeah, it's adorable.
So we started, I was like, let's do it. And so we found a competition, found a club that I could join. So you have to, in order to compete, you need to belong to a club in Germany.
Mm-hmm.
And the closest one is in Bayreuth. So that's like, in location wise, for those people who don't live in Germany or anywhere or never heard of Nuremberg, it's about an hour drive away.
Mm-hmm.
So all I need to do is just like pay a membership fee, but I don't even train with them. I've never trained with them. I've only seen them at competitions.
Yeah.
And I signed up for my first powerlifting meet last May, and I've been hooked ever since. I'm like, yeah, this is awesome.
How cool. And it's, I think about the buckets of German words I never learned, like medical terms. No, I cannot talk to a doctor unless I just have like, it's broken. All I can say is it's broken. Like, das ist kaputt. And then they have to figure out the rest with like pictures and visuals. So I don't know any German in medical terms. I don't know any German in like IT or computers. Food, obviously, we talked about already. But I think about every time you take on a new sport in Germany, you have to learn the whole vocabulary behind it. So it's not just that you have to now learn how to be a power lifter. You have to learn how to speak powerlifting in another language. So, like, what is that like?
It's really weird. So, like, they give you cues, right? So when you go into squat, like first they call your name and they tell you when you can go. Yeah. And I'm always just looking at somebody like, okay, can I go now? Can I go now? And they never say my name right. They're like, Courtney Evors. And I was like, oh, Courtney. Like, who's Courtney? It's Courtney. So, and then I walk up and, when you do your squat, you unrack the bar and you have to show control of the bar on your back before you can squat. Mm-hmm. And they say, beugen. So in German, a squat is kniebeugen. So you're bending your knees because it's a very logical way to explain something.
Yes.
And same thing and then like when you're allowed to step it back, it's like abheben or something. I'm probably saying that wrong, but they like have to call you back. So you beugen, you stand up and they go, okay, abliegen, good. And then you just wait. And then they, if it's a good lift or whatever, like das ist gut or whatever. So you have to like kind of look for the score or look for lights. I always look at my boyfriend. I'm like, was it okay? And he's like, yes. I'm like, okay. And then I walk off. And then with the bench, like the same thing. You have to, they tell you when to lift. And bench is bank. So you just go and then they tell you to lift it. I don't even know what they say. Like I'm always in the moment, but you're not allowed to push off your chest until they tell you to. So you have to hold control, show control. And then when you're done, you have to hold it above your head and then re-rack it. And then deadlift's the easiest because they just raise their hand and then they lower their hand when you're allowed to put the bar back down.
That is easy.
But still, I'm always like, am I allowed to go? And they're like, you can go. Like somebody's always in the background. Like, lift.
But what I want people to get out of this part of the podcast is that it doesn't matter what you think you need to know to do something. Like you don't need to know how to speak the language to do anything.
No. Like speaking of hospitals, like when I first moved to Germany, I got bitten by a dog. Like I was running in the Pignitz and this dog bit me.
And the Pignitz is it's a beautiful park that runs through Nuremberg. That's a stream and running paths. And it's a nice place to hang out. So you're running through this beautiful, safe park.
Yeah. And I get bitten by a ghost dog. And like, you find yourself in like a situation. You're just like, what the hell just happened to me? Your dog just bit me. These people are not reacting. You don't know how to be like, give me your insurance information and all this stuff because you don't have that vocabulary. Mm-hmm. Like insurance is Versicherung. And then it's like, hast du eine Hundeversicherung or a Hauptpflichtversicherung or another kind of Versicherung? And you're like, I've been here 8.5 years, so I can say all the Versicherungs now. Right. But, 6 months after living in Nuremberg, no. Yeah. And I get myself to the emergency room. And I was like, I didn't know the word for bite. So I couldn't say I got bitten by the dog. I was like, Ein Hund hat mir veressen.
I'm laughing because that means that the dog ate me. Like he had me for food.
And I just lifted up my shirt and pointed at my stomach because he bit me in the stomach. And they were just like, okay. And I was like, speak English.
Oh, that's so good. No, I had my last year in Germany. I was there 4 years. I had to have surgery on my sinuses. And
Oh, no.
I didn't think about it because I spoke enough, broken German that it was fine. Like I did enough to get through, and most doctors speak English, and it was okay until I realized that the a supportive staff didn't speak English. And so the day before the surgery, I had to have a prep talk with them because I was going to have to answer questions in German while I was going under sedation and while I was coming out, like when you are least coherent. And I was like, wait, what? They're like, if you don't say these things, like we're going to have to do X, Y, and Z, which is like emergency version. And I'm like, sorry, what? So the night before going into surgery, I'm like quizzing myself on these words that I don't even remember if I knew what they meant. I just know like say this one and say this one. And just so I could get through that part. It all worked out fine. But I remember being nervous, like if I don't answer this correctly, they're either going to like put me into a coma or they're going to cut off my other arm or like something's going to happen. And it was wild. And like all things, like it worked out. It was no big deal. But then there's like a few other moments when I'd be with like a random nurse that would come in or staff who were checking on me and how's everything going, and just them not either being comfortable speaking English or just not knowing any, and being like, well, I don't know what she just wrote on that chart, but if I just stay here, I'm sure somebody else will come in if there's a question. So yeah, it's a wild experience to go through that. And I know that there are people who have been at Puma or Adi who have gotten into like accidents in Vietnam and China, or had to have an emergency appendix surgery in China when they've been there on a factory trip. And in my head, I'm like, oh God, like you would, I would be more nervous about that than anything else, because you just don't know what it's like there. Not that everyone came out fine. Everything worked out, right? Like doctors are usually doctors everywhere and it's no big deal, but you get so nervous because you don't know what it's like there. And you don't know if it's going to be at the same expectations that you would have in what you're comfortable with.
I knew a girl, she I think she down like when scarlet fever broke out in Germany, like a couple years ago. She was on a trip to China. Some of the team managed to get out, but she was starting to get sick, and they were trying to get her into Hong Kong, and she got stopped at the border in Hong Kong. They're like, oh no. Yeah. Back into mainland China. And so she was in like mainland China hospital, like not even like big city, like I don't know if it was Dongguan or what, but for 2 weeks. Had no idea what they were putting into her, like what they were giving her. Like nobody could speak any English. And she was like, I have to take this medicine. I have to just trust let them stick me. Like, yeah, you have to trust. Yeah.
It's so wild. So wild. Yeah. And for people who haven't been to Hong Kong, when you are going through the customs process, it's not just, I need your passport. They're taking your temperature. Like if you are running a temperature, you are not allowed into Hong Kong.
I think I once had somebody like come and stick something in my ear once. I was like, what? Oh, okay.
Yeah, you probably had a little temperature like, well, let's check. Phase 2.
Yeah, you look sweaty and weird. I'm like, I just came off a plane. I don't know.
Yeah, and I was traveling for 12 hours. Let me go. No, it's always, the few times I've had to travel where I've been like coming off of an illness where like I'm no longer contagious. I'm fine to go, but I don't feel awesome. And I've had to go on Asia trips. I'm always like, please let me get through customs. Yeah.
I got sick in China once. I got food poisoning. I went to Starbucks in Indonesia, and then by the time I landed in China, everything went wrong. And I went to see like the doctor in the hotel. They had he was like poking me in the stomach. He gave me probiotics. He's like, no greasy food, no McDonald's, no Burger King. I was like, I know I'm American, but I don't eat those things, but thank you.
Yeah.
He's like, eat vegetables. I'm like, I ate vegetables and I got sick.
That's how we got here.
Yeah. And I got like all the probiotics in like a little Burberry tote bag. I was like, this is really weird.
That's hilarious.
It was kind of hilarious.
So when you look at your athletic career and how it's been running parallel to your career in sports through Audi, like how much has sports been an influence in you finding your confidence and you feeling powerful as a woman? And how much has it been impacted by the fact that you work in athletics as well?
I got everything up until the impact, and then
how much has being in sports your whole life impacted you knowing how you feel confident and how you perceive yourself as a powerful lady?
I think being in sports has everything to do with the fact that I'm confident and driven, and like everything that I've gotten after. Like I've done sports and team sports since being such a small girl, and I always had a drive to like do really well, and like I was always super competitive, and there was nothing or nobody could tell me that I couldn't do anything, right? Like I remember when I told my mom that I wanted to go into fashion, she was like, it's really competitive. And I was like, I'm an athlete. I'm okay with competition.
Yeah.
Like I'm going into fashion. And like, it was always been like this part of me. Like I was able to really manage my time well because I had to play sports after school. So there was always all these things I learned about teamwork, and you learn about how to play up your strengths, and you learn about discipline, and you become more self-aware of like things that you're good at, self-aware of things that you're not so good at. And you kind of get this confidence that you probably might not get otherwise, like just from being in sports. And so like, that's why I think sports has had a lot to do with how it shaped my life. I never thought to get into athletic apparel.
Yeah. Because
I always wanted to work in like high-end fashion. Like I did an internship with Michael Kors when I was in college, and like I really was like all about, fashion. But it wasn't until I had a colleague at one of my old jobs. He went to Fila and he was like, we have a job for a designer. You should apply for it. And I did this application, and when you apply for usually a fashion job, you have to do a project and design within that project. And it was like a training outfit, or for like, I think it was like for men, or like a training outfit for women. I don't remember what it was exactly. I just remember like I started designing and I was like, oh my God. And I had all these ideas, and I was like, it could be like this and this and this. And I did like 10 collections, and it came so naturally and so easily because I was like, this is what I should have been doing from the beginning. Is I should have been working in like the sports industry. And ever since then, like anytime I would work on something, I would always think about like, what would the person who's wearing this need? Like I had a gap of sports, obviously, like team sports in high school. I did a year of sports in college for crew. I was a coxswain. And then after college, there was like a couple years where all I did was like Tybo videos in my bedroom, but nothing really serious. And I was designing training apparel, and I was like, I should be going to the gym. If I'm working on this project, I should be in the gym. If I'm designing clothes for somebody who's in the gym, I should be going to the gym. Just so I know, okay, what do you need when you go to the gym? What are the things you're looking for? Like, what do you want to see when you're in the mirror? Like if you're sweating, like, do you want a seam here?
Yeah.
When I designed training apparel, I did that. When I designed running apparel, I was like, I should start running. Like, like what do runners need? What's important for a runner? What about pockets? Like, oh, I've got a lot of crap in my pockets, and this pocket position is horrible. Or like everything inside of it's like all wet. Like, what can I do to help solve that problem? And I always kind of looked at everything of from the eyes of, what am I trying to solve? And I always just kind of threw myself into every sport. Like at Audi, I did running apparel. I was on the team it's called Heartbeat Sports, which basically is like all the little smaller sports. So you've got field hockey. I did field hockey apparel. I did volleyball. I did table tennis and badminton. And I have to be honest here, I did not get so far into the head of a table tennis player.
No, shocking.
No. I was like, can't they just wear a normal polo? But you still think about like, okay, the movements, like, okay, what would a table tennis t-shirt, how would that be different than a badminton t-shirt? And then, yeah, with training, I did men's training as well. So like, it was, again, like, what are some of the pain points for guys as well when it comes to training? And, and it's just, it's helped me shape how I go about my job.
What I loved working in the sportswear industry is that there is such a amazing blend of science and creative always being combined between, science and design. And, you get to be inspired by whatever you want and then bring that inspiration to the actual athlete needs. And when they meet in the middle and you create this thing, you're like, holy shit, like this is better than the last one. And it's really cool to see that progression, especially, working in footwear for so long. Like, so often the shoe is a tool that you use to perform. Like if I played field hockey most of my life, and the equipment I needed were cleats, shin guards, a mouth guard, and a stick. I was before they had any head protection, which is how I broke my nose. But so I was a little bit before the curve, unfortunately. But like, those are the things I needed to play.
I also did not have head position.
Yeah. I don't know why it took so long to realize that giving young girls weapons and without a helmet, like, they really,
or lacrosse.
Right. They really just misjudged how dainty we are for a very long time. Like, it was.
Or not dainty.
Not at all.
I've leveled people on the hockey field.
Seriously. Like, I remember I went to college in Worcester, which where our college was in the most ghetto part. And I remember walking home from the field to our apartment, and this kid was like 7 or 8 on his bike rolling by, and he's like, "Damn, girl, no one's going to mess with you with that stick." And I'm like, that's right. And like, he was 7, he got it. And yet we had people who were in charge of the sport that weren't getting it. Plus I just remember being vicious about even like doing a ponytail and braiding it. So that was, if somebody was on your back too much, you could like whip them with it. Just being like, it was effective, not nice, but effective.
Different generation, I think.
Maybe. Yeah. So where was it going? Oh, but how footwear is part of your equipment. And so is what you put on your body, depending on what sport. Like, if you're a swimmer, that swimsuit is a technical piece of equipment. It's not about covering you up so that you're wearing clothes. It has to be something that modifies your body so that it can be better than it would have been without it. And it's such a crazy thing to think about. Like, we're talking about, AI now, and like how we're changing the brains and capabilities of humans. But we've been doing this for a long time in regards to modifying what we put on our body in order to be better at something than we would have been on our own. And we don't talk about that a lot. Like, all the science that goes into, I think it's easy for people to see the science that goes into a golf club, because like that's a much more talked about in a mathematical way, or like a baseball bat. But that same science is getting applied to everything that athlete is using. And
if you just think about how, like, designing a bra, like, for instance, like a sports bra, you think about like movement of the breasts and how they move when you're running or different activities.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, how do you stabilize? How do you lock down? How do you, not flatten out and make a uniboob, but also maintain like a feminine shape?
Yep.
But make sure it's comfortable and the straps aren't digging in, and
you're not cutting off blood.
What about like, and then like cup sizes, different like athletes, and you got to think about like, back to your picture of all the Olympic athletes.
Oh yeah.
Everybody is different, and so then how do you create a product that can suit all body types, but also give the same level of support and comfort? And
I'm still looking for that infamous bra that's like good.
Yeah.
Because like I've gotten some that are, and even just thinking about like the amount of back muscle somebody has is going to change so much of like
Mm-hmm.
how that fits. I have a couple that are for running specifically that are pretty good for like stability, but they are really wide in the shoulder. So they end up like digging into my armpit. Like they're too wide. And I'm like,
Okay.
who did they design this for? Like, yeah, it blows my mind.
Well,
It
a
just
lot of
wasn't me.
times, yeah. Well, and a lot of times, what happens is every company has their own like kind of avatar that they or like
Yes.
Albanon, like general universal sizing chart, right?
Yep.
So like to get things in like a cup size for a bra, for instance, especially for a sports bra, is so much more complicated in terms of like a distribution breakdown.
Yeah, because there isn't small, medium,
Manu-
large. That's not how easy it is.
no, no, and then you'd have to like invest in like different cup molds, and you'd have to have like just from like a SKU count and colorway and the complexity to be able to do like what Victoria's Secret does. Is a lot of times a lot of companies just don't want to invest in that, and then you have to consider, okay, who's the fit model that we're trying things on. So a lot of times, even though they try not to, you end up fitting to this one person who may or may not be even athletic.
Mm-hmm.
And then it doesn't really fit the general population in the end. Like I know I've complained about things that our team has done, and I'm like, I can't pull up my sleeves, which I always hate when I have a jacket and I can't pull my sleeves up.
Yep, same. Rolled up sleeves right now. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And they're like, yeah, but you're different. I'm like, excuse me? They're like, well, you're like really muscly. I'm like, I'm not a medical anomaly. I'm an athlete. And like, who do you think we're designing for? Athletes.
No, and and you are not, like, people think powerlifting and they think Arnold Schwarzenegger. When you meet someone, you just see fit woman. You don't think that you don't look like the Hulk. You don't look like, no, like you are just a very normal looking fit person. You are not an anomaly in that sense, right? You are an anomaly in how powerful you are in your size, but you don't walk down the street and like you can't put your arms down. Like that's not what you look like. So no, like you are in all the best ways, a normal looking woman. So
thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's also like culturally where you run into differences, because I think like an athletic figure in the US is much more commonplace.
Yes.
Where like when I first moved to Germany, people would be like, whoa. Like
that, yes.
Like I had people take my class, my CXT class, and like they'd be like, you're scary. And I'm like, what? They're like, you're scary. Like, I'm like, I'm not scary. Like they saw me outside of the gym in like normal clothes. They're like, here, you look all normal, but normally there, you're really scary. So I'm like, I think you're confusing my motivational tactics, which aren't like military or anything like that.
Yeah.
With, I don't know what, but it just like perceptions are different.
I was really surprised by the difference in sports women played when I moved to Germany, because I also grew up playing everything. Like I was never told I couldn't play something. So like you grew up playing baseball, then softball and basketball since I was like 6. And there was cheerleading and field hockey and swimming. Like we just did all of it because sports were fun. And like sports were things I could do instead of doing homework, and how I made friends. And not that I was a nerd, so I also liked the homework part, but like what else was I going to do? Like stay home and be bored? Like, no, like get me into another sport so I can like keep doing something. And then when I moved to Germany and I was like, who wants to go running? It was me and a bunch of guys at first. And then like what were women doing in the gym? And like if I was lifting in the gym, it'd be like me and guys lifting in like women on the treadmills. And I'm like, wait a second, this is weird. And so I started asking women like, what sports did you play growing up? And usually it would be like dancing and something else that would have been like a response from a woman from the 1950s of like what sports were for women. Oh, I'm like, Jordan's like waving her arm. I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, tennis.
Tennis? There's some tennis.
But no, it was like maybe some gymnastics or ballet, but like things that still produced a very typical female shape, right? Like elongated and slim. And it took a while to find women who didn't grow up doing sports like that, like that played other sports. And Germany has a pretty successful field hockey team. Like the Netherlands always has like one of the number one field hockey teams in the world. But they did have a long time. And I think a lot of European countries had a lot of bias longer than the US did about women playing some of these sports. Like you can see the difference in US soccer, women's soccer versus the rest of the world. And how it's been kind of all the classic things that were happening in the US decades ago about like women in sports, I think lasted longer from my observation in Europe than it did in the US for like what type of women played sports and why you shouldn't. Yeah.
Well, I think like there's like especially like an attitude towards women in sports and how women are in sports, because like throughout like my European career, like I would be in meetings with guys and they would be I would be the only female in the room. And we're talking about female athletes in America and how to be, you know, aspirational to them, like in like volleyball, whatever. And then all of a sudden there's like a picture of like an athlete in a bikini and they're like, oh, she's aspirational. And here's another girl, she's Brazilian and this is her in her bikini and she's also aspirational. And I was like, what the fuck? I was like, okay, as the only female in the room, only American in the room, only former high school athlete in the room.
Yeah.
You guys should probably listen to what I have to say. And then like, you know, girls don't look for hot bikini clad athletes who are kind of bubbly as a role model.
No.
Girls want to look towards strong, you know, strong-minded, strong athletes with like a purpose and confidence. Thank you. And like something to say as like a role model.
Yeah.
Like if it helps, if she's pretty, yeah, maybe a little bit, but it's not the reason why young girls follow older girls who are athletes. They follow the girls that are like kicking the ball the best or doing the best in their sport or have the most confidence. And
the same as
that
boys.
was the one thing that always exactly. And that was the one thing that always kind of pissed me off about like brand positioning, especially towards women, because it was always kind of fluffy and light and like, oh yeah, we're girls and we do sports. Ah. And I'm like, I've never had that attitude when it came to doing sports. Like,
no,
I was always like, you need to have like a different tone of voice. You have to have a different tonality and how we speak to women as a brand. And it's like, thank God, but I'm like also a little late.
Yeah. Have you seen the Serena Williams Nike video that came out or commercial?
Yeah.
Like I watched it and I'm like, is it weird to be crying and watching a commercial? Like it's not a Hallmark commercial. Those are approved. This is a sports commercial. And I'm like, like having these like moments. And it was so funny because with all the stuff with women's soccer and how they're suing, the U.S. women's is suing the U.S. Soccer Association or whatever they're called because men have been getting paid more. Yep. They were talking about Brandi Chastain in 1999 when they won the World Cup. And like I saw that live. And to this day, if you talk about that moment, I still get the same feeling of like the surge of adrenaline and that like anything is possible. And I'm not even a soccer fan at that time. Like I am now, but I wasn't back then. It was just, I was home during the summer and I was watching it. And I remember that moment was so visceral and like how it happened. And like she's ripping her shirt off and not to be sexy, just because you are like freaking out. You're like, I need something to hold on to. Like, yeah. And so I still remember it so strongly. And, you know, I was at Reebok before I moved to Germany doing apparel. And it's when they launched their Run Easy campaign, which came from a really good place of wanting running to be inclusive and how running doesn't need to be, you know, the Nike Under Armour, like run or die mentality, right? Like, because it's so funny. I don't even know if people outside of our industry notice how, like, the variations of the story they were telling about sports the same way that we do sometimes being inside of it. but there are brands that are seen as like sport or die warrior level. And then there's like everyone's inclusive level, right? And I think Adi's actually done a really good job of balancing between the lifestyle and the sport, right? And like they've always done a good job of blending the like party atmosphere of like inclusive and fun, and we're a team. But I remember they launched this campaign of Run Easy, and I was like, I really love that you're telling everyone that anyone can be a runner, but like, who wants to run easy? Like, even if you are just starting out, like, you don't take on challenges to be easy. Like, like you want to get something out of it. Like, even if you've never run before, you want to run to the point where you're like, holy shit, I'm better than yesterday. Yep. And I was like, I have a big problem with this. Does no one else see this? And they had some great messaging, like run at the speed of chat, which I thought was a great message because it tells you that you don't need to run to be like to the point of being out of breath all the time. Like it should be fun. Like part of the reason I ran so much is because I was running and talking to my friends while we were running. And not that we never pushed each other, but that's it was not just working out, it was catching up. And I remember that campaign going out and being like, oh, I think we're missing it. Like it's so close and we're missing it by like 1 degree to really make this impactful. And I bet today no one else would know what I'm talking about because I don't think it made much of an impact, unfortunately. But it's crazy how we think that the access to people wanting to participate more in something is to make it simple. And I don't think that's really what drives human nature to do much of anything. So we shall see. Yeah. But so since you've been on this athlete journey throughout your life, it's also been a journey that has been parallel to you with food and what you put in your body. What has that journey been like? And where are you at now?
So I started, that journey started when I was in my 20s. So long ago. Basically when I started doing like getting back into working out and training and everything, I was also on a heavy drinking with your colleagues circle as well.
Yeah.
So I would like go to the gym. I would like had like my membership at Equinox, and then I would go out for like happy hour. And one day something clicked in my head. I was like, I am poisoning my body. I'm trying to do all these things to get in shape and eat well. I'm poisoning my body with alcohol and whatever happy hour food would come with the Friday night happy hour, happenings around New York City. And I read Fast Food Nation.
Yep.
And that book changed everything because I was like, holy shit, like this is what goes into food and this is how like food is made and the process of food industry and like where animals are coming from and like packaging and the chemicals. And I was like, whoa, it was just so much that I started to like slowly figure out, okay, what is it that I want to start eating? I joined a co-op. Like I started getting into more like organic food and trying to understand what that was and eating more whole foods and cooking more foods for myself. Like instead of just like grabbing a bagel and, whatever to go in the morning, I was preparing my breakfast or taking it with me and I was packing my lunch instead of buying my lunch. And like slowly over the years, like I started becoming more and more aware of what it was that I was putting into my body. I moved to Portland. Like, of course, Portland has like a great food culture. I think I gained 10 pounds after I moved to Portland because I was like, this place is wonderful because there's so much good food. Like everywhere you went, it was so delicious. And it was, you could find organic and you could find like vegan, you can find all these different things. And like, I was just enjoying it all. And then again, that's when I got into CrossFit and then I got into the zone diet and I started like, tracking my blocks of food that I was eating and becoming aware of like, what kind of foods fuel my workouts and what don't. And it was like, started the food blog and then I took a sustainability course and I learned about like food sustainability and like all that, like, the meat industry. And I slowly became a vegetarian through the whole course of that. Like I was doing meatless Mondays and then I was just doing meat once a week. And then before I knew it, I was maybe only eating meat whenever I ate out.
Yeah.
And when I moved to Germany, I was like, I heard somebody told me that the meat quality in Germany was really bad. And I was like, well, I'm not buying meat in Germany, the land of like pork and potatoes. And I became a vegetarian. So like when I moved here, actually I was basically vegan by default. So I'm lactose intolerant.
Me too.
I've been lactose intolerant since I was born, really. And so when you don't have any dairy and you're a vegetarian, you're essentially a vegan.
Yep.
Right. Except I ate eggs. But yeah, I did that for a couple of years, and everything was fine. Like my skin was clear and I felt good for the most part. But after a couple of years, something just felt off. Like, and I got all like fully into like 100% deep dove into like vegetarian lifestyle and vegan lifestyle. And I was reading like Diet for New America and the China study. And I was like, oh, meat's horrible for you. And And I was like one of those people, I was one of those annoying people that's like, oh, she does CrossFit. She does CrossFit. She's a vegetarian. She's a vegan. You should know she's a vegan. Sorry to everybody I ever talked to about nutrition. No, I'm just kidding. And I basically was like full into this thing, but I was like, you know what? My energy levels weren't that great. Like I, had the worst cramps ever. Mm-hmm. My mood was kind of like not the best. I wasn't sleeping through the night. And I was wondering like, does it have to do with my diet? And my CrossFit gym was doing a paleo challenge.
Yep.
And of course, that's like all CrossFit gyms. They're like, welcome to the paleo.
Yes.
And I was like, what's paleo? So I said, okay, I'll try this 30-day paleo challenge. And I'll just reintroduce fish into my diet and see how I feel. Oh, and the other thing I noticed is like my muscle tone was like non-existent. Like I've always had like muscle.
Yeah.
And I was doing CrossFit again. I went from being a triathlete back to CrossFit. And I was like, I should be firmer in my bicep, and I'm not. And it wasn't until I started like reintroducing the protein after doing the paleo challenge, like I started feeling really good. And after the 30 days, I ended up eating bacon at the end of the whole life challenge or whatever we did.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, where has this been for the last 3 years of my life? And that just basically was like, okay, meat. And I think like shortly thereafter, I went to Indonesia for a work trip, and I was like, I'll have the chicken. Like I'm in Asia, and I'm like, give me the meat.
Yeah.
And literally within a month of reintroducing meat back into my diet, I felt my body just like my muscles just like swell back up and like,
yeah,
like I was like, boom, there we go. This is the Courtney that I know.
Yeah.
With all the muscles and like with the protein back in my diet, meat back in my diet. I still was very aware of where I bought it from. Mm-hmm. Like making sure it was still from a good source. I pay extra money for organic quality.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to skimp on that stuff. All those values that I got from my many years of reading up and learning about sustainability and organic and all that good stuff. So then I was full on paleo for 3 years. And of course, like just, grains are horrible and legumes are horrible and you shouldn't eat a peanut because that's not a nut, it's a legume, and that's not paleo. And which is like
you're just all in
when you think about it. I was all in. But I love peanut butter too much. But I couldn't give it up forever. And then finally I realized like I decided to do nutrition coaching with working against gravity, WAG, and like kind of counting your macros and checking macronutrients. And I reintroduced carbs back into my diet.
Yeah. Like
more starchy carbs like rice, quinoa, buckwheat. Like I still am gluten free. Because I actually found out the one thing by cutting gluten out of my diet, I used to have the worst cramps every month, debilitating, would have to take ibuprofen, like 600 milligrams every 4 hours on the dot for like 3 days. And one day it occurred to me that I didn't have to do that anymore. Mm-hmm. And I was like, interesting. And it wasn't until after my dad passed away at his funeral, I was like, fuck it, I'm eating the cookies and the cake and the bread and everything.
You're allowed to when you're in that moment.
The worst cramps. Yeah, I thought so too. And the cramps came back super bad. And I was like, okay, so maybe it is the gluten.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's definitely something my body can't handle. So I cut that out. Like, so I pretty much don't eat any gluten unless there's some crazy circumstance. Like I'm in like France and there's a donut and I really have to eat it, like a beignet
Yeah.
or a croissant.
Yeah.
Or like something where it's like worth it and I have a little
Yes.
bit of it and
Yeah.
I can tolerate soy sauce and a little bit of gluten, but I basically avoid gluten and now I eat just a whole foods diet, minimally processed
Mm-hmm.
meat, grains. I love to cook.
Yeah.
I still eat chocolate. I bake,
Well,
you
and
know.
I think one of the biggest things, because there's so many different diet streams and, people telling you like, cut this out, cut that out. But the one thing that they all have in common is cutting out the junk. And like no one, like even the people who are like the super fit vegans are still the ones who aren't eating processed stuff. They're not the, what's the joke they're called? Like the fat vegan, where they're like eating all the stuff that's like chemically made.
Oreos are vegan.
Right. You're like, oh God, what's in this? So everyone keeps coming back to eat what's real and that's it. And then it is a personal journey. Like you do have to test things out because everybody is different. Like you literally don't know how the universe of you functions best. And it's frustrating because you just want someone to tell you so that you can feel awesome and look awesome. But that's not how awesome works. You don't get there the easy way for anything.
No, usually not.
No. So
but that's part of the thing. Like people always ask me, they're like, well, what do I need to do? Like, what should I eat? It's like, it depends.
Right.
Like how does your body handle stuff? I'm like, can you handle dairy? Then you can eat the cheese and the yogurt and all the things. Like I wish I miss Greek yogurt. Like if I no matter how many times I can get like the different varieties of non-dairy coconut milk yogurt, they have a cashew milk yogurt now, they have almond milk yogurt.
Yep.
Germany's getting very progressive these days.
Awesome. Or
like
at least
you can find these things, but
at least Bavaria is becoming progressive.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure Berlin's been progressive, or you can go up north and there's more variety, but it's slowly coming.
Mm-hmm.
But like if I could have like regular full fat Greek yogurt, I would eat it.
Yeah.
And I can eat it, but then my face will break out.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just not worth it.
No. Nope. And now you've started Courtney's Kitchen. Is that's your Instagram, correct?
Yes.
And
that's one of my Instagrams that I have too.
Yes. And they'll all be available in the show notes and also in the outro. But you've started doing your own granola, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And how did you start doing that? And what is that all about?
So granola has always been one of those things that I've made when I lived in Portland. Like when I first moved to Germany, I would always make it and have a jar of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I stopped making it because I would eat it all the time. Like I'll just have a little bit of granola. I'm like, ooh, I'm hungry. I'll have a little bit more granola. Like, And so one day my boyfriend was like, he's like, I need to put on weight and I want something that I can eat with breakfast. And he was trying to look for something to eat. And I was like, I have an idea. I'll make you my granola. And so I made sure I mixed it up real good. I made sure I had like healthy fats. So it had olive oil and coconut oil and, no refined sugars. He doesn't really care about that, but I do. So I try to make it healthy. I added like pumpkin seeds and sunflower seeds. I'm like, okay, what's going to add a lot of protein?
Mm-hmm.
He needs carbohydrates. So we need to make sure it's sweet enough. It's got oats. And of course I use gluten-free oats because it's my kitchen. So I want to be able to eat it too. And I made it for him. And he was like, this is really good. He's like, you should sell this. And I was like, ha, okay. And he's like, no, seriously, you should sell it. So like a good German, he's like, well, okay, well, what do your ingredients cost? And he's just like listing out like all the ingredients, like what did you put in this? And like he did like an Excel sheet.
Yep.
And we did the count. He's like, okay, what's a batch? How much it goes away? And like, we put in the ingredients and how much you buy everything from. And he's like, okay, well, you could probably he's like, you can get your prices down. You can make a decent margin off of this. And I was like, okay, so I should sell granola. And so I started making it and kind of like seeing if my friends would buy it.
Yeah.
And they did. And they started buying it. And they're like, yeah, this is really good. They're like, this is really good. Like, I sold one to my old boss. He's like, that was amazing. Amazing. I gave it to my neighbors for Christmas. And my one neighbor was like, my daughter's asking for more. When are you going to make more? So, and I gave it to my American friends. I was like, okay, like, this is like the Germans, maybe they just don't know any better. Like, so I gave it to my American friends and I'm like, this is actually really good. And I was like, okay, well, maybe I start my own business and see how that goes. So I decided to go all in. I finally, like, so in Germany, you need to have permission to be self-employed. Mm-hmm. You can't just start shit. And I've been here long enough that I can be self-employed, but I had to have it in so you get a little green card, at least when I moved to Germany. You probably had one when you moved to Germany. They changed it since then. Mm-hmm. You get your Sitzblatt, which is like a little green piece of paper that says what you do. And on there, it said kein Selbstständigkeit, which means no self-employment. Yeah. And even though I'm technically allowed to be self-employed, because this little green paper said I couldn't be self-employed. Mm-hmm. So I asked the people when I was renewing my Niederlassungserlaubnis or my green card, my EC card, I was like, or my blue card, what can I do to get rid of the Selbstständigkeit? They're like, well, you can apply for your residency permit. Mm-hmm. So I was like, all right, let's do it. So I filled out the paperwork and then like sent some things in, had to wait a couple months. Like they send me an email being like, or send me a letter, you forgot something, which was like 3 months ago. And I'm like, great, thanks for not emailing me right back. Cause it's Germany. So you send like an email and then like, they're like, oh, you forgot to add your attachments. Yeah. Like 3 months later. And then I had to send more things in and then wait another couple of months to get like an answer that they want more papers or more proof that I paid into the pension funds or my social security for Germany, etc. Yeah. And then I moved to Fürth. So I've been in Fürth for the last year outside Nuremberg. Mm-hmm. And so moving to Fürth, you have to do the whole process over again. So I was like, oh man, And they're like, you need to have your A1 Sprachprüfung. Oh, I was like, I have to take a German test. Yeah. So Nuremberg, they're like, no, you can speak German. You don't need it. But in Fürth, they're like, no, yeah, you can speak German, but you still need it. So I had to wait for the next test location in Nuremberg. Then I had to wait the 6 weeks for them to grade the test to get the results. Then once I got that, I had to send that in and then wait 3-4 months to get the approval for the Niederlassungserlaubnis. So finally, after like a year and a half, I had my residency card that I can be self-employed. And in October, I went and got myself a business consultant to help with, all the how do you do business registration and all that things in Germany, which is very complicated. And he's like, oh yeah, you could start producing granola in like a month. No problem. So I got everything all set up. I'm like, I'm gung-ho website and I've got an online shop and I'm doing all these things. And then it's like, I still need a kitchen. Oh. Yeah. So finding a kitchen to rent is a lot harder in Germany than it is in like the States. Yeah. So I finally found a kitchen, but because of my day job and work travels and things, I've been like trying to like find a time to meet up with this one American who's here. She has a restaurant, so she's going to let me use her kitchen. Very cool. And then I reached out to another German girl who I know. She's got a kitchen that's gluten-free. So it's like probably better to be in her kitchen. But right now I'm just like, I just need a kitchen. Yeah. Because if you can see behind me, I have bulk ingredients ordered. Oh yeah. And for everyone listening, we're doing this recording over Google Hangouts, so I can see Courtney and see her piles of ingredients and sacks of things that look bigger than you are of food. Yeah. And this is the main reason why I can't do anything in my apartment. I
Because of
have a
your,
giant furry dog.
yes, and that would probably be not to health code.
No, and actually, the health inspector came to our apartment one day because it was the address for the business.
Mm-hmm.
And my boyfriend opens the door, and Bentley, who's now awake, comes and greets him at the door. And it's like, oh, obviously, we don't make granola here and sell it to anybody. That would be horrible. No. Only the food that we eat is made here. So, obviously, I think if I sell anything, it's like to friends who know the conditions. But in terms of like official business, I'm still
waiting,
not up and running because I'm waiting for a kitchen.
What do you think your time frame is going to be to launch and have people who are listening available to buy your granola?
You mean your European listeners?
Yes.
I hope to start baking next weekend.
Okay.
So next Sunday, I have a kitchen and at least access for Monday. Maybe I take the Monday off or the following Monday from work just to be able to bake and to see how much I can bake in the small kitchen. And then I need to still do like nutrition,
the labels,
like the official labels and the official like calculations, and send it off to a laboratory. Everything just takes a long time. Like when you're used to being an American, where you can kind of get things done like quickly, and you're like, all right, let's do it. Let's go for it.
Yeah.
And then living in Germany, where everything is like, no, we have a process. You need to do this, and then you get like 10 different forms.
Yes.
And you have to fill out those forms all in detail. And you're like, I don't know what this is.
So when you look at the struggles you have with your granola business, and you look at the struggles of living abroad, and you look at the struggles of what it means to be a fitness competitor and have a full-time job and be in a relationship and be a dog mom, like, how do you do it all? Like, is it not a big deal to you, or how do you just make it work?
I just make it work somehow. I don't know. Like there's some days where, the regular job, the one that pays the bills, like just kills you and drains you. And I come home and I'm like, I don't want to do anything. I don't want to look at any paperwork. All I have energy to do is cook dinner, which I even barely sometimes have energy for that. Take Bentley for a walk and just Netflix and pass out by 10 o'clock. And then a lot of it comes down to like, Friday nights or weekends where it's like, okay, I'm going to just go for it. Like luckily I work for a sports company. So when I take a lunch break in midday, I'm able to do my sports at lunchtime. So I take a lunch break and I train. We have like an amazing facility. So I'm able to get my sports in. And like I had on my Instagram the other day, like again, one of those memes, like this is me when I have to miss my workout for stupid shit. So I was like, totally missed my workout because I had to be like getting ready for like a presentation we have next week. And I was like, I need to be in the gym. I have a competition in 2 weeks. I need to work out. Or, I literally, okay. So the thing is like when you have a goal, I guess, and when there's something that you really want to do, you make the time and energy to do it. And, I'm never one of those people like, you can always make an excuse, but if something really matters to you, and it's like, if you really want to build your business, you will come home from work, even if you're tired, and you'll do a little bit or do those little things that you need to do to get it done. Yeah. And I just recently went to China, and I knew like I had the European Masters Classic in powerlifting like the week after I got back from China. And we were arranging this trip, and I knew the whole time I'm like, we need to be back by this date because I had my competition. We need to like the whole thing. I told everybody. I think the secret to success is tell everybody everything. Like when I was going to the factory.
I want to just pause on that because I think that's such an important thing that you just said. It's so big because people don't share what they're up to. And when you don't share what you're up to and what matters to you, nobody else in your world can help you achieve it. Even in small ways of being accommodating or, connecting you to somebody else or like asking you about it and encouraging you. And I think it's so profound. That's why I'm pausing, because there's something about when you tell people like, this is what I'm up to, this is the game I'm playing, the end, it allows them to contribute or just be aware that that's what's happening in your world. Because I'm guessing that where you're going to take this next is that they were able to work with you. Like if they know something's important to you, like there's ways to make it all work, but it won't if people don't know that that's what you're creating.
Yeah. I was like, I made the German national team. I'm like, I don't know how either because I'm American, but I'm on the German national team for powerlifting. And so when we were getting ready to go to China before we went, I was like, before I go, I'm going to need a gym. Not the hotel gym, because that's shit.
Yeah.
It's got a Smith machine, and that won't work for me. I'm going to need a barbell, a squat rack, a bench, and 140 kilos worth of weight plates.
Mm-hmm.
And I need to make weight.
Yeah.
So don't be trying to feed me shit.
Uh-huh.
Like, I'm going to need to lose weight in China. So I went there, and they all knew that I was going to lift the things. And they found me a couple of gyms. They're like, here's some gyms.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them looked like it could be good. Like I looked at some pictures. I had no idea where it was on the map. Nobody can call the gym because nobody was answering the phone.
Yeah.
I just had like an address and a rough like pin in a gray box.
Yep.
In this one section of Dongguan. And I went to the hotel and they're like, look, we have a gym. I'm like, no, your gym is not good for me.
Yep.
Sorry. So I took the subway because it was the easiest way to get there. Like it was raining the first night. I walked around. I went to like one of like two giant towers.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, excuse me, am I here?
Yeah.
And they're like pointing this way. And then I go that way and I'm like, where do I go? I ask somebody else and they point in a direction and I go and I come back and finally the security guard just kind of takes pity on me and walks me through this mall and around to this other side of the mall and then into this other building and swipes the security card and just points up. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, I'm guessing it's on the 11th floor because it says 1117. And I go up and I see this sign that says Iron House.
Oh.
And yeah. And then I hear like an American podcast or something, some Americans like on the loudspeaker talking.
Mm-hmm.
And I walk in, I was like, hi. I came to train. Do you speak English? And they're like, yeah. And I made it work. Like, I was like, I'll pay whatever, like, it doesn't matter. Like, I just need a lift.
Yeah.
And they're like, what do you do? I'm a powerlifter. And they were so surprised to have like somebody who knew CrossFit, because there was like a CrossFit strength gym. They had powerlifting there as well, and a female who could lift, that they're like, oh, don't worry about the money. I was like, for real? They're like, yeah. So they let me train for free. And I was like, I'll be back on Wednesday if that's okay. And they're like, yeah. And so I went back on Wednesday and some people came and they're like, oh, you're the American girl. I heard about you. I came to watch you train. I was like, for real? Okay, cool. So I had people taking videos of me and spotting me. And then I came back the next day or the next Friday and more people were there. And like, they like came to watch me. Like the American girl who's the powerlifter.
So cool.
And through this like crazy experience of like me being so demanding of like, I have this goal, I want to do it. I ended up making friends in Dongguan, China. Like, oh, have you ever had proper Chinese dim sum? We're taking you out for dim sum brunch on Sunday. Mm-hmm. I was like, okay. And he's like, I want to take you to my gym. Come train with me at my gym. And like, he introduces me to people in his gym and there's all these girls just standing around like, oh, like watching me and taking pictures of me. And I was like,
yep.
Okay.
So you went on this trip and just now have this huge fan base because you went and found a gym.
Yeah. I don't know if it's a huge fan base, but yeah, I have like a small fan club in Dongguan. I made friends in the powerlifting community.
That's so cool.
You're on their stories on Instagram and everyone's like, who is this?
I am.
That's so good.
I am on stories on Instagram. No, it's kind of funny.
It's such a great example of like being demanding. You're up to what you're doing. You're telling everybody you're not going to stop. You're going to make it work no matter what comes in your way. And as a result, you have this amazing story. Like it just keeps things keep opening up as a result.
Yeah. And the same thing with work, like with the meetings and things, like, okay, sometimes I have to adjust my schedule because if we have like a presentation to senior management that goes over my lunch break, I'm not going to be like, sorry, Eric, I'm going to the gym.
Yeah.
Even though I know he appreciates me being in the gym, because the last time he saw me there, he was like, I really like the passion that you bring, because not many people are doing what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, not too many girls are lifting 125 kilos for reps. This is true.
Yes, you are special.
Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
But, you just gotta, like, and that's the thing, that's the point, like, no matter whether it's with sports or with your career or with nutrition, like, if there's something that you really want to do,
mm-hmm.
then you have to just go for it.
Yeah.
And you have to let other people know what's also in your plans. Because if you're like saying, like, from a nutrition standpoint, like,
mm-hmm.
I'm a weight class athlete. Normally I'm sitting between 57 and 58 kilos, but in order for me to compete, I need to be under 57 kilos.
What is that
I cannot
in
be 57.
pounds?
127, 128, I think, 125. I don't know.
So you go from 127 to what, roughly? Like,
let me do a little. So 57 kilos is 125 pounds. And I'm usually between 125 and 128.
Yeah.
And in order to compete, I need to be under 125. So it's always better for me to be sitting closer to 123.
Yeah.
Because if you're like 1 gram, like if I was 157.1 on the morning of the weigh-in, I would have to be like, I'm going to go pee and come right back.
Right.
Like you can't compete because
mm-hmm.
it puts you in a heavier weight class. So it was really important for me, especially when traveling, knowing that, okay, I'm not going to have control over the food I'm going to get fed. Like, okay, I have control over what I eat at the hotel, but I don't have control over what's available at the hotel. I don't have a control over where they take me to dinner.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to want to make me try things.
Yes.
Like, they try to make me drink. They're like, oh, shots. And I was like, no.
Yeah.
I'm an athlete. I have a competition. I'm not drinking.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, okay, next time. I'm like, probably not, but you can try.
Yeah, because there's a big hosting culture for all of the factories and vendors that we work with in other countries. And everyone's so nice and lovely. And they really want us to experience their culture and to have fun and to want to come back. And it comes from such a good place that it is hard to like tell them no or be like, I don't like when you don't eat meat and you go to Asia, they're like, what? Here's rice and here's beer. And you're like, what? But okay. So it is hard. And it comes back to the discipline that you have of always standing for what you're up to and not making the impact of what that could be on others mean anything, because there isn't one. Them having to adjust is not a big deal versus the sacrifices that you're already making. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that's just one of those things where I was like, okay, like, and being like a nutrition coach on the side of my many things, like, and having tracked my macros and being aware of food and quantities and amounts, like I could kind of eyeball things. And I knew, okay, if I just ate until I was, 80% full,
mm-hmm.
and I guess being in a hotel is better than me being home because I don't have granola snack on every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It's addictive. I still can't stay away. I'm like baking and I still have to weigh in 2 weeks for another competition. But, you have those things where you're like, okay, I have the tools to kind of know about what I can do,
mm-hmm.
even though I know I don't have control over everything.
Yep. So how did your first competition go?
Well, this was my first international competition.
Okay.
And it was for the European Masters Classic. So last year during the German National Championships, I guess I did well enough that I got an invitation letter from the head coach for the German team, because you have to be like, I guess, one of the top 3 athletes in a weight class.
Mm-hmm.
And I just turned 40 in January. So that puts me in the masters category of athletes.
Oh.
Which is nice because it's normally I'm competing in the active class, which is with girls who are born in 1993 and 1994. And you're like, so I started lifting when I was 38. I started lifting when I was 28, but it's a big difference when you start when you're a teenager versus when you are an adult.
Yeah.
But it was a really cool experience because I think the thing about powerlifting is you are as strong as you could be on that day.
Yeah.
So it's not like you can push a little bit harder and you can win. Like you kind of know where you're going in at.
Mm-hmm.
And I was competing against 7 women in the 57 kilo weight class. And I was on the bottom of those 7 women. I was like, great. And like, which wouldn't be that big of a deal if we all had like similar, totals, if they were all like roughly around the same area, then you could be like, okay, maybe strategically I could do a little bit better. But I think the top girl listed, she had a total of like 375. And I'm going in with a total of 295.
Yeah.
So that's a bit of a difference. You're like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
You can only lift so much. You're not going to miraculously do like 20 kilos extra on a squat.
Right.
And again, for your listeners, 20 kilos is 44 pounds.
Yeah. You can it's and that's on top of already lifting a ton of weight. So it's one thing to add on 5 pounds and try, but then to have to add on 40 additional pounds on top of 100 and whenever you're already lifting, you're like,
yeah. No, if I pulled that off, I would definitely have to pee in a cup. They'd be like, hi, small little girl, you come with us.
Yeah.
Here's this.
Yeah.
We're going to watch you pee now.
Oh my
Remember
goodness.
that thing you signed?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the raw powerlifting there's 2 different classes in powerlifting. There's geared, where you see like with like all the straps and like the special suits, and like when they bench, they've got like a special shirt on.
Yep.
And this allows people to kind of get into the lift. So it's hard for you to move like a normal person.
Yep.
And
makes
so
you more rigid.
Makes you more rigid. So like you have like knee straps.
Yeah.
And you can't bend your knees, but when you have like a weight on your back, it's like, oh, now you can bend your knees and it's easier for you to stand up.
Mm-hmm.
I don't do that. I do the raw powerlifting where it's just like
Yep.
you do what you have based on what you have. And I haven't been doing this for longer than a year, and I'm doing my squats, and everybody's like, well, where are your knee sleeves? You should have knee sleeves. I'm like, I don't know. I never thought to lift with them. They're like, you could be adding 10 kilos to your squat. I'm like, okay, I start that next week. And, you go in and they slot you based off of where your opening lifts are, and you go in a certain order and you just do the best you can. And you hope. The thing I like about powerlifting is that everybody that I've met through my competitions have all been really nice.
Mm-hmm.
Like all the girls are in like the same kind of, same, either like similar level or like same kind of mindset. And they're all really friendly, and they're like, oh, that was so crazy. And how did your lift go? That's really great. I'm so happy for you. Or, they're like, oh, I racked it too soon. I'm like, oh, I did that my last competition. They're like, it's so shit. I'm like, I know. So like, it's a different kind of community and a different camaraderie than anything that I've ever experienced.
Yeah.
But it was also really cool for me because I was like, wow, I'm like the same height as everybody. Like it was like just like for the first time, it's like a room full of like little, more or less kind of stocky build girls and women. And I'm like, this is kind of cool.
Yeah.
And they're all like fucking strong. And I would be like, how the hell do you bench like 75 kilos?
Yeah.
Like, holy crap. Like, these are just like super strong. And I'm like, I was happy. I got my 60 kilo bench, and I got a PR on my bench. I've been trying to get that for the longest time. I would like to say that I thought about my mom watching me, because she actually was up at like 2:00 in the morning watching the live stream. She's like, okay, I'm going to watch you now.
From Pennsylvania. She's watching you.
From Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
I'm in Hungary, and she's in Pennsylvania watching me in the middle of the night. And I'm like, do it for mom. Do it for mom. And I go in and I just like lock it out. And I was like, yeah. And she's like, I'm proud of you, baby.
So cute.
And my mom, like she's super proud of like what I would have achieved, and she's like super supportive.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, she hates the fact that I lift things and that I have muscles.
Yeah.
Like she's always like if you can see my Instagram feed and like I'm doing something, you'll see like every now and then like a comment that's like, no.
I mean, I'm laughing because it's so funny, but like, how does that really impact you when she's equally your biggest supporter and the one being like, mm-mm?
Well, she's always had like an old school view of what little girls should do and look like. Like I grew up in a neighborhood full of boys, so it would always be like, Courtney, little girls don't play manhunt with little boys.
Mm-hmm.
Little girls don't play football with the little boys. And I was always like outside with all the boys playing football, or I'd want to go play manhunt.
Yeah, both super
I
fun.
would wrestle and do all these things. I remember once I was at a swim meet, and one of the kids from my team was standing behind me. He was like this tall, lanky kid, and I was like, I think my biceps are bigger than yours. Yeah, great conversation starter. I really knew how to talk to the guys. And I was like flexing my arms, and I was like, yeah, I think my biceps bigger. And he's like flexing his arms, and we're comparing biceps. And my mom is up in the stadium in the stands watching this whole thing go down. And she's like, Courtney, no, put them away. And she's like trying to get me to stop flexing my arms. And she's just like, And in the car, she's like, little girls, like, she's like, boys don't like girls with muscles. They're not going to go with their clothes. What are you going to, you're not going to be able to wear dresses. And I was just like, whatever.
So obviously you took everything she said and threw it out the window.
A little bit, yeah.
But but did that impact like you when you were dating, and were you worried about that as you were getting older?
I never really worried about it because I guess I was just kind of ended up dating guys who liked athletic girls, or meeting guys in like that similar circle.
Right.
Like my boyfriend loves the fact that I have an athletic figure, and he's like, yeah, we're going to make your ass bigger. We're going to put some meat on those thighs. And I was like, I don't know. He's like, I think you should lift at the 63 kilo weight class. We can easily put on like 5 more kilos. And I'm like, that's like 10 pounds. I'm like, no.
Yeah. He's making you into Robo Courtney. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But, like, I think it's just, she grew up in a different generation where if you had your period, you didn't play sports that week.
Yeah.
Right. And like girls didn't really do, like, she played field hockey, but she was not competitive in field hockey like I was competitive in field hockey.
Well, and it started off as a very different sport generations ago, too. I mean, only recently did some teams stop wearing skirts to play field hockey. Personally, I loved wearing the skirt because it actually gave me more range of movement than like if I had to wear like the basketball shorts that were just like, how am I supposed to move in these sometimes? So I liked being tough and wearing a skirt at the same time.
I did too.
But it's almost even like women's tennis used to be like dainty tennis. But I'm glad it's not that way anymore.
No.
Yeah. I imagine that we might have swam against each other, actually, both because I was in Pennsylvania when I was swimming.
Okay.
So
which school did you go to?
We were in Bucks County. We lived in Marsville. And so because of how some of the sports were, we did some with like Yardley and Pennsbury area there as well.
Okay.
But we did a lot of traveling because our swim team was a club team. So we went all over the bottom right corner of Pennsylvania for swimming.
The bottom right corner. Mm-hmm. That's where I'm from. Yeah. No, because I did it. We were in Interact league. I went to prep school, so it's possible. But I was diving because it was the closest thing to gymnastics. They're like, you can do like flips, but you just land in the water. I was like, all right, I'll do it. Just like gymnastics.
Yeah.
I really wanted to be a gymnast.
Well, you do have the stature for being a gymnast, right?
This is true.
So we ask everyone on the show, where do you rank yourself as a powerful lady? 0 being average everyday human and 10 being super powerful lady. Where do you feel today and where do you feel on average?
I would say probably today and on average, I'm probably around like an 8.5.
I like it.
Powerful lady.
Mm-hmm. And when you aren't feeling powerful and you don't feel like when you're in a valley, what do you do to get yourself out of it and back on track?
First I'll cuddle with my dog and just be sad and be like, oh, I need cuddles. And then he licks my face and makes me feel better. Or I'll try to just like meditate and get into like a better headspace and try to like, get my crystals out and get those negative emotions out and just like focus on like, okay, why am I in like this headspace, or why am I self-doubting, or why am I having like a bad day?
Yeah.
Or, I go for a walk, and if I'm having like a angry bad day, then I throw on some music. Like usually it's like Dolly Parton or Britney Spears, and then I lift some heavy weights.
I'm loving the visual of you lifting to Jolene angry at the same time. Like that to me is so entertaining. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
I really, having Dolly Parton on this show is one of my goals.
That would be awesome.
Right? Who doesn't love her?
She's awesome.
So we also ask our guests to share what they recommend in regards to books or podcasts or courses that you go to for inspiration and that you recommend for other people to, learn something new and be motivated.
Wow. Okay. I have to think. I'm constantly listening to podcasts. Like I love Mind Pump radio, like just in terms of general fitness. Like they're a little bit grittier in terms of their language and whatnot, but they're really informative on their messaging. I recently just signed myself up for Marie Forleo's B School.
Oh yeah, I love her. Big fan.
I've been kind of listening to her, like her Marie TV on and off.
Yep.
For like a little while now. And while I was in China, I watched one of her videos and I was like, you know what? I could probably use business schooling for my granola business and nutrition business. And like, so I've been following her kind of course to see where that can take me. And that's been like a really good resource. I'm trying to think, like, there's so much that I've listened to and I'm like looking through I don't know.
We can add things also. Like you can email me when you're like, people need this, right?
Like I get the skim daily in terms of news. I get helps in terms of keeping up to date. Although to be honest, I do listen. I do my morning watching of The Daily Show or Seth Meyers and Stephen Colbert for the real news of what's happening in America.
Yes.
And then I just
am thankful for Seth Meyers.
Yeah. As living abroad is always a little bit tricky because you don't get all the same information that you would normally get, like the deep dive. So like I get the skim, which I think I got from you sending out something.
Possibly.
So I've been following them.
Yeah. I like them. I think they're good. I like what they literally do. Skim the news, give you the breakdown, and then you have all the links to decide if you want to go further down the rabbit hole.
Yeah. And one book actually made a big difference or a big impact on me was Gabriel Bernstein's The Universe Has Your Back.
Yes. Yep.
It was funny because it was just about the time when I was doing my Paul Chek Holistic Life Coach course. I did.
Love Paul Chek.
I love him too. I did his course in London 2 years ago. And I kept on getting these things like it would just pop up like Gabriel Bernstein, The Universe Has Your Back. Gabriel Bernstein, The Universe Has Your Back. I'd be in a bookstore and there it was. And like, it was just following me around. And then finally I was like, I'll just get the book.
Yeah.
Maybe the universe is trying to tell me something. And like, I listened to it and I was like, the universe is trying to tell me something. So like, kind of after doing the holistic life coaching course, and the teacher who did it was really big on the law of attraction and Abraham and the preachings around that. Like I kind of got into that rabbit hole. Then I got into Gabriel Bernstein. And
I love that Gabby Bernstein and Marie Forleo are buddies.
Yeah.
Because I just love when like women who are up to helping other people just keep coming together, which is why I like getting to talk to all of you guys, because even though we're approaching things in sometimes different ways, we're all committed to everyone living a life that they're excited about. And like, you know, how can I help? Like, you know, whether it's like with you focusing on like giving people opportunities to train and to have healthy nutrition and to see an example of like what it can look like different people are looking for different things. So like, how do we bring all of it up? Like, no more excuses of like, I don't know how to start, because we are going to provide you a way of how to start. So for women who are looking to get into a stricter fitness routine, to look into powerlifting, to look into CrossFit, how should they start?
There's just start. Like there's different channels. Like if they really want to get into CrossFit, there's CrossFit.com. There's different podcasts, Barbell Shrugged, and you know, even like Girls Gone WOD, if you want to follow like more of like a female aspect to it, like in terms of powerlifting, just try to find a gym. And like same with CrossFit, like, or anything really, just try to find a gym and community in your area where you can go and feel comfortable and, you know, welcome. Because I think the thing is like, there's like hundreds of CrossFit boxes, right?
Yeah.
And with CrossFit, the main thing is community, and that you go in, that you feel welcome, that people are friendly to you. And most people always tell me, they're like, oh, I need to get in shape before I can do CrossFit, or I need to get in shape before I can do your class, or I need to get in shape. And it's like, no, you need to just go and do the things, and then you'll get in shape. It's like, don't you worry about what other people are doing. Don't you worry that, you know, they're doing all these crazy heavy weights. Like, don't you worry that, like, if I went into the competition and was like, oh my God, this girl is squatting 150 kilos. I'm never going to be able to squat 150 kilos. I'm not going to compete. Yeah. You know, that's one way to go about it. Or I could say, oh my God, these girls are squatting 150 kilos. I'm going to try to hit 112.5 and get a new personal best for me. And then I'm going to ask the girl, so what do you do? And, you know, so knee sleeves, huh? Yeah. I hear they're just right.
Well, and CrossFit gyms are known for like everyone being on a different level. You're doing the same workout, but everyone's hitting a different level of weights or reps or something, because everyone's expected to be at a different place.
Yes.
Right. So you really can just walk in off the street and start.
Everything is scalable. And that was always one of the things about CrossFit, where when it began, it was something for everybody. It was to get the general population into a healthier, better place. Yeah. Now, if you look at the CrossFit Games, that's a completely different beast. Yeah. And like, that's like the best of the best. And people who don't have day jobs, that all they do is train all day. Right. Like 5 hours a day. Or you think about, okay, you know, this athlete, like sometimes I have to remind myself, I'm like, okay, I'm competing against somebody who's 25 years old, who started lifting when she was 15 and has a different muscle strength that comes with starting so young. You know, and it's like, I can do the best that I can at my level. And it's the same thing with CrossFit. Like you go in, it's, you know, you don't need to be the next Brooke Entz or Camille LeBlanc-Bazinet. Like you just do the best you can, and you don't hurt yourself, and you move and you be happy. And when it comes to sports, like people think, okay, well, I don't like that thing, or I don't like lifting weights. It's like, okay, well, you don't have to lift weights. I love lifting weights. For me, like I'm stronger than I've ever been in my entire life. I'm the fittest I've ever been in my entire life. I'm the leanest I've ever been in my entire life.
And like, you're 40.
And I'm 40. Yeah. You know, but the key is I do what I love to do. Like if for you fitness is dancing naked in your bedroom to Beyonce for like an hour, then go for it. You know, blinds open or closed, like whatever makes you happy. If you want to do Zumba, do Zumba. If you want to do Soul Cycle, do Soul Cycle. If you want to jump on a trampoline for 45 minutes, do that. Like walk your dog, or just go for a hike, or, you know, I think as long as you have, and like by doing those things, you can build yourself a community, and you find other people who like to do those things too. And then you become more aware of what's in that circle of whatever it is. Like, you know, I would never know half the things. Like I started getting into powerlifting, and then you start following different powerlifters on Instagram.
Yeah.
And then you're listening to all these things that you might not have listened to. Now I listen to like Juggernaut podcasts. And, it's like, okay, what's Max Ada's tip for a stronger bench? Or what does Marissa do to, get like a perfect arch position? And,
Well, that's also why I love the Rich Roll podcast, because he brings in people that are athletes and nutritionists and food people, and you really get the whole 360 like mind, body, soul experience, and you get to hear these crazy stories like this of people who have like gone through these crazy fitness journeys or food journeys. There's just a different perspective, but I think the point of view we're making of it doesn't matter what gets you excited. It's still really important to find something that gets you excited, that involves moving your body and sweating and like expressing yourself in that way and finding a community through it. I know personally like that when I am not taking care of my body physically or what I'm putting into it, like I can't be successful at the rest of my life in the way that I want to be. And, especially with this launch, if working till 2 a.m., starting at 7, in the beginning, I was good about like waking up and like at least going for a walk or a run and coming back and doing like little reps at home. And then that went out the window like the last 2 weeks because it was like go, 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 go. And I'm exhausted. And I'm like, I have to just keep reminding myself that like, no, like the energy comes from working out. Like make time for it because it's going to give you more back. And so it's been great this week to get back into it and to just have my head space so much better than it was. So I'm really excited to get back into everything that I love doing because you get so much more out of it than you think you're going to. And it has nothing to do about like why you love it isn't about how it makes you look. That's just a bonus part of it. It's so my opinion. I mean, you can, it's bigger than just going for that.
Well, I think when you just go for like the beach body, like, I want to do something that's to look good in a bikini. Like that motivation is only going to take you so far.
Yeah.
Like, and when you have something further than that, or like a goal, like I want to get stronger, or I want to be able to do like, that's what, like, competition is a great thing. Because then you're like, okay, I have something to actually strive for.
Yeah.
And your priority shifts. It's like, okay, I don't think about, okay, I'm going to get a bikini body. It's a side effect of being in a 57 kilo weight class and lifting a lot of things. But I go, okay, like how do I get stronger? Like, what am I going to do next? That's going to like help build my lats more. You start to embrace the shape that you have. It's like, okay, how do I get my bench up? Like, what can I do to get stronger? Like, what am I going to do? And I told my boyfriend after season's over, I'm going to have to start doing training just to be able to walk my dog because he's a 52 kilo puppy at 10 months old. And I'm going to need to do 70 kilo, like single arm sled pulls just so that way, when he tries to jump up and tries to pull me, I can say no.
Yeah.
And yank him back. So it's like functional training too.
And fun.
But it's a goal.
Yes. Well, it is time to wrap up. Unfortunately, we blew through 2 hours. But what are your last pieces of advice or motivation for everyone listening?
My last piece of motivation and advice, go after what it is that you want to do. Like if you have the passion behind it and you believe that you can do it, then don't let anybody stop you.
Yep. Great advice. Well, thank you so much for being a powerful lady. Thank you for being on the podcast. You are always an inspiration to me, and I can't wait to see you in real life again and give you a hug and eat some granola.
Well, that's another reason why I train, so I can give big hugs.
Yeah.
But
perfect.
But thank you so much for having me on the podcast and thinking of me. And I'm proud of you and all the things that you've created. And I can't wait to see what else you come up with next.
Thank you. I am so happy to call Courtney a friend. She's fun and always a yes to taking on life and just meeting up and seeing what's possible. And as you've heard on this episode, she's a total inspiration. As a fellow high performer, I'm amazed at how she does it all and continues to find ways to start new companies and new projects. If you're inspired by Courtney and want to connect and support what she's up to, you can. First, get a 15% discount for holistic life coaching or nutrition coaching. When you reach out to her, use code POWERFULLADIES. And for those of you based in Europe, you can get a 10% discount for the first time purchase of her granola. Again, use code POWERFULLADIES. You can also follow her on Instagram at Courtney's Kitchen _DE or her personal one at CAEVORS. And don't forget to visit her website, courtneyskitchen.de. If you'd like to support the work that we're doing here at Powerful Ladies, there's a couple of ways you can do that. Subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Play, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. Leave a review on any of these platforms. Share the show with all the powerful ladies and gentlemen in your life. Join our Patreon account. Check out the website, thepowerfulladies.com, to hear more inspiring stories, get practical tools to be your most powerful, get 15% off your first order in the Powerful Ladies shop, or donate to the Powerful Ladies One Day of Giving campaign. And of course, follow us on Instagram at Powerful Ladies. For show notes and to get the links to the books, podcasts, and people we talk about, go to thepowerfulladies.com. I'd like to thank our producer, composer, and audio engineer, Jordan Duffy. She's one of the first female audio engineers in the podcasting world, if not the first. And she also happens to be the best. We're very lucky to have her. She's a powerful lady in her own right. In addition to taking over the podcasting world, she's a singer-songwriter working on her next album, and she's one of my sisters. So it's amazing to be creating this with her, and I'm so thankful that she finds time in her crazy busy schedule to make this happen. It's a testament to her belief in what we're creating through Powerful Ladies, and I'm honored that she shares my vision. Thank you all so much for listening. We'll be back next week with a brand new episode. I can't wait for you to hear it. Until then, I hope you're taking on being powerful in your life. Go be awesome and up to something you love. Hey guys, I'm so excited that you are here today to listen to another episode of the Powerful Ladies podcast. It's because of you guys that we are able to exist and survive and make this great content and have these great conversations. One way that you can really help us out is to go to thepowerfulladies.com and sign up for our newsletter. You will get great information and tips about once a month to know when we're having an awesome sale, when there's a great new course coming out, and just to hear all the cool stuff we're doing. It's the first place to learn about all of the events and the things that we're up to. So please subscribe today.